Well, let's have a look at the top half of the LaLiga standings. Barcelona, they will stay in second. They blow a chance to go back to the top of the table before the international break. 3 points now behind their fierce rivals, Real Madrid. Let's welcome in a former Barca man himself, Luis Garcia. But Craig, I want to start with you on this one. Of course, we were watching it closely as well earlier today. Players like Frankie de Jong blamed fatigue. Balde talked about the weather. Do you see any of that? The weather, because it was a heat wave. It was a heat wave and an earlier kickoff.
And Sevilla, they were not impacted by
you could say they're used
the weather.
They're used to playing. It's their home. But is it just as simple as once again that high line let them down?
It's not just the high line, it's every facet of the team today. For me, the worst performance since Hansi Flick took over by a stretch. Now, he said they got better in the second half. He made 2 changes. Balde came on for Gerard Martin and Rojo got subbed off for Eric Garcia. And they did get better, but they were woefully bad in the first half. Woefully bad. We saw the highlight there. It could have been 4. Could easily have been 4-0 at half-time, and by the end of the game, it could have been 7 or 8. Even though they had 1 or 2 chances themselves, Barcelona, from difficult angles, they missed a penalty, but Sevilla could have scored 7 or 8. But when you don't press from the front, and you don't press then from the midfield, and everybody's playing as individuals, then the back line gets even more exposed. And it was exposed dreadfully today. Absolutely dreadfully. Every time, whether it was a deep runner from midfield, or whether it was a runner from wide positions getting in, time and time and time again, they broke this defensive line. This has been coming all this season. Yeah, it happened last year, but they had success domestically. But this result has been coming this year because we've witnessed this back four consistently, changing every week, different centre-halves, different full-backs, different partnerships, and teams have created lots of chances and lots of space in behind. Now, they've outscored the bulk of their opponents and they've got away with it. They did not get away with it today. And I think when Hansi Flick sits down and reflects, he won't reflect on a better second half. He'll look at individuals and say, did you do enough? Did you press hard enough? Did you work hard enough? Did you close the ball down? Did you protect the back four? And the answer was a simple no. It was nothing to do with fatigue. It was nothing to do with the heat. It was just a disjointed, very, very poor Barca performance. And the back line got exposed because of that. When you expose a back line that's been performing the way they have been performing this year, this is what happens. And Hansi Flick is lucky he's not sitting in that press conference, or he wasn't sat in that press conference, and he wasn't talking about an absolute drubbing, because it could have been that today.
Yeah, Luis, as Craig said, it probably could have been worse. And what he said, too, is that we all saw this coming. It's something that we've been talking about a lot about Barcelona, that eventually other teams will find them out. So why do you feel Hansi Flick hasn't found a way to stop it?
Because it's not about how to stop it. It's about what the players can do to address the situation. The system is not going to change. The structure is not going to change. The idea of playing with a high line and a high pressure is not going to change. If I cannot press, I'm going to be ready to run back. And that's something that is not happening. We've seen in today's game the fullbacks. I've been talking a lot about the fullbacks today because I think that everything started from there. The wide areas have been today very exposed because of the space that they leave when they go forward. Right here is Gerard Martin, who doesn't come off. So they leave the space and time for the player to turn around. He's looking facing the striker, so easy for them to make the pass, and then you are in trouble. Once again, there is doubts there to go under pressure. He's got time to think, and then you have to run back. When the strikers are ahead of you, then you are in trouble. Pau Garcia hasn't arrived. Araujo again. Here, let's have a look to the 2 strikers, the 2 centre-backs. No one is expecting a mistake from Koundé. Everyone is just watching and see what is going to happen. Once again, the Sevilla player get the ball and you are in trouble. And here, again, there is no pressure. Koundé is out of position. Balde is out of position, goes into the center when the player who he needs to be looking at is just running on his side. 3 players into the middle, no pressure on the ball. Fantastic ball. Something to say about Chesney. Here, once again, yes, it's the last part of the game, but once again, wide areas are free. No one is arriving. Kouassi doesn't arrive because the wide player is free. And that is, again, the situation that we've seen so far in this game 3, 4, 5 times, because Hansi Flick mentioned that we play better in the second half. It's true. We had the opportunity if we scored the second one and the change would have been different. Yes, but in the first 45, you could have conceded maybe 3 or 4 goals and there were no game at all. So I think that this is a video that is going to be easy to understand. It's going to be easy to show. And hopefully we can see some changes in the future. Not on the system, but yes, on the way of reading the game. If I see the player is already looking at me, there is no time to pressure. It's time to run it back.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, if there's the lack of pressure on the ball that they had today, you have to drop off. You just have to. Otherwise, well, you don't have to, but this is what happens. Mm-hmm. This is what happens. If you then have no pressure and you still try to come out, and teams are clever about it, and it's a good ball and it's a good timed run, then you're going to get in for fun. And we've discussed this time and time again. Teams, when they get this wrong, teams are going to get in for fun. But the bigger story here is we've all said it, it's been coming. I liken this to Liverpool, who have just hit the buffers in the Premier League and the Champions League as well, got beaten at Galatasaray. It's been coming for them because they were making mistake after mistake after mistake, and again, it was the back line for the most part. Barcelona, very similar, getting results, but this has been coming. Mark my words, and Hansi Flick will have known this is coming. And as Luis said, the video analysis for this, I think, is going to be very easy. This is not about Lamine Yamal not being there. This is not about a superstar not being there. This is about a team who did not play as a team today.
Listen, the thing is for me, right? If I'm being very kind to Barcelona, the first 2 goals come off of individual errors. Araujo with a ridiculous foul. Koundé loses the ball. You could tag in Lewandowski with the missed penalty. Maybe we're having a different conversation if it goes to 2-2. Bargi with one missed golden opportunity, 1 half chance, again to make it 2-2, and maybe we're having a different conversation. But we've seen this coming not just this season, but last. Teams figuring out how to expose that high line of Barcelona to the point where, as you mentioned, Alexis, there was a heat wave in Seville, so there were scheduled water breaks. During one of those water breaks, you could hear Almeida, the Sevilla coach, saying, "We worked on this all week. Ball into the front man, little ball back, third man running." Everybody knows how Barcelona are going to play and how to expose that high line. Now it's up to Hansi Flick to now figure out, now that this is how teams are going to play against us, how do we defend against that? Because we're seeing it time and time again. We saw it for the back end of last season. We're seeing it now again. And you can't just rely on outscoring the opponent. You can't say, well, if you score 2 or 3, we're going to score 4 or 5 because we have the firepower. You've got to get that part of your game right. And that's the one thing I believe that Hansi Flick needs to focus on in terms of how they're defending, how they're protecting that high back line, if that's what he's sticking with, because teams are prepared to take their chances.
It's interesting that last year he did not fancy Ronald Araujo as a defender, and we've seen Araujo have good periods at Barcelona over the probably a good 2 or 3 years ago now, when he both played centre half and right back and snuffed out Vinicius Junior in Clásicos. So he can defend, but that's kind of one-on-one defending where he's big and he's strong and he's quick. This type of defending is different. The Hansi Flick type of defending is different. This is more about organising the back line, it's more about squeezing as a unit, and it's more about communication. It's less about going up one-on-one against the player. It's more about the back four squeezing as a unit at the right time. And that takes the back four to be cohesive, and that takes a leader. And I think it was quite clear last year in the team selections that Ronald Araujo didn't play a lot because he did not trust him to be able to manage that back line as the most experienced player, along with Jules Koundé, who's in the right back position. Martinez did that last year. It was a big shock to Hansi Flick. In the summer, he wanted to go to Saudi Arabia, so he lost him. He was the organiser. But it was stunning today that he took off Gerard Martin, which wasn't a surprise, but he took off Araujo at half-time. And I think that was very telling.
Yes. That
going forward, he has no trust in the big centre-half to manage and organise and sort of cajole this back four into working as a unit. So I don't know who that individual is going to be. I don't know. Whether that means moving Jules Koundé into centre-half, whether it's Eric Garcia. All players, you know, Garcia and players like that, you consider him a squad player. And all of a sudden, these guys might have to come in and marshal this back four. So he's got a lot of thinking to do, Hansi Flick. And I think I've rarely seen a first half where two of the best midfielders that play the game today, and Frankie de Jong and Pedri, could barely get on the ball. And could barely get a tackle in. And that was a big surprise to me, because I expected, even though it was warm and it was away from home, I expected Barca to dominate that game today. And to be honest with you, they barely laid a foot on Sevilla in that first 45 minutes. I mean, the Rashford chance before he scored, yeah, that was a straight ball, wasn't great defending. And then the Rashford goal comes about because, you know, Sevilla are you know, taking too much time in the ball on the edge of the box, waiting for the referee to blow his whistle. They cough it up, Pedri puts a great ball in, and all of a sudden the game has changed at 2-1. So, you know, from Barca's perspective, I know Shaq was trying to be positive about it, about the ifs, buts and the maybes. But the if, buts and the maybes for Sevilla were, if we'd have finished those chances, this game would have been dead and buried at half-time.
Luis, to Craig's point about that backline just needing that bit of extra leadership, if it's not going to come from Jules Koundé, if it's not going to come from Araujo, who else could it come from?
Yeah, because Barcelona meets Íñigo Martínez from last year, that I think he was the perfect leader in the back line. He was strong, he was vocal. I think it's very important. Communication in the back line is very important. We cannot expect yet that on Cubarsí, because he's young, because he still needs to make a lot of mistakes to become the centre-back that we all expect that he will become in the near future. Eric Garcia has done a good job. I think he came on in the second half because his ability to bring the ball from the back, his fantastic passes through the line to try to break that first line of defensive from Sevilla. They were marking very well man-to-man to Frankie de Jong and Pedri. So in the end, there is needed someone who can bring that leadership. And leadership doesn't come from, I understand what Craig is mentioning, from a big lad who can be strong and powerful and showing. It's about what he can give, how much confidence he can give to other players. And so far in the past few months, we've seen Araujo making some mistakes in the timing, in the aggressiveness into the box, in the coming back. Let's not forget last year in Champions League. So those kind of mistakes doesn't give confidence to the rest of the players, and then the leadership goes on the other side. So I expect Araujo to be a leader as a captain for the club. But I think at the back, what you need is someone who can be secure, who can give confidence to the back line and to the keeper. And those are the kind of leader that you need to at the back. Players who can be reliable when it's needed. And today, Araujo, sometimes he looks vulnerable at the back.